Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Chem Insider. So in today's video we'll be starting a new chapter of electrochemistry from our class 12 syllabus. So electrochemistry is a very important topic when you consider for the chemistry portions. That is because it's not just theoretically important, it is also practically important, because most of the substances or the chemical devices which we use or electrical devices which we use, like for example batteries, cells or geyser, etc. These all contain an electrochemical property in them. That is, if you have understood the redox reaction chapters of your previous classes, so there we discussed about a cell, that is the Daniell cell, electrochemical galvanic cell or Daniell cell, where we observed that we can use the chemical reactions to prepare electrical energy and further use those particular electrical energy created to carry out a non-spontaneous reactions. Similarly, in most of the cases we use particular electrochemical property of certain metals and substances in order to carry out certain chemical energy reactions to prepare electrochemical electricity. Okay, so now chapter electrochemistry. So in this particular chapter of electrochemistry, we'll discuss more about those galvanic cell or Daniell cells, and we'll also discuss about certain criteria which affects the particular conditions of these electrochemical cells and how is these particular electrolytes which are used for the particular electrochemical cells work under certain conditions. So now, as I said, electrochemistry. So what do you mean by electrochemistry? It is a study, it is a part of a science which deals with the study of conversion of chemical energy to electrical energy. So electrochemistry is a part of chemistry which deals with the study of conversion of chemical energy into electrical energy. We all know that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but it can be transferred from one type to another form, right? So similarly, if you convert chemical energy to electrical energy, the study of that particular property is called the electrochemistry. So in the previous classes of redox reaction chapter, we discussed about a cell called Daniell cell, which is also called as galvanic cell, right? Daniell cell or galvanic cells. So in that particular Daniell cell or galvanic cell, we used two metals, a zinc and a copper metal, right? So what did we do over there was, we took two containers, each carrying a respective metal electrolyte solution. Let us say this yellow is for zinc sulphate solution and the orange is for copper sulphate solution. So both the solutions are taken with the respective salts of sulfates, and then we dipped metal electrodes. So zinc metal electrode on the zinc solution and copper metal electrode in the copper solution, and both these two were interconnected. Okay, both these two were interconnected. Let us say we have a galvanometer attached over here. So both these two are interconnected, and further the solutions are interconnected by a inverted U type of a bridge called salt bridge. Okay, so this is what we observed in the particular galvanic cell construction. So what we observed there was, we took two beakers in which each of the beaker is filled with zinc sulphate solution and copper sulphate solution respectively. So when you dip the respective metal electrode, so if you dip copper electrode in copper sulphate solution and zinc electrode in the zinc sulphate solution, so let us say this is a positive charged electrode, this is a negative charged electrode. So once they are connected, there we observed a certain chemical reaction where there was a flow of electron and also flow of current. So where we observed that zinc metal present in the zinc sulphate solution loses electrons. So zinc metal present on the electrode loses electron to form Zn2+ and gets deposited at the zinc sulphate bottom. So it gets deposited at the bottom of the zinc sulphate solution, and those electrons were found to move in this direction towards the positive charged electrode. Okay, so Now what happens is, once the electrons comes to the copper electrode, the Cu2 plus ions present in the solution, acquires those two electrons to form Cu and gets deposited on the surface of the electrode. So it gets deposited on the surface of the electrode. That is what we have observed. So once this is formed, there will be flow of electrons, right? So if electrons are flowing in one direction, current will be flowing in the opposite direction. If electrons is flowing from negative end to the positive end, current was observed to flow from positive end to the negative end. So this is what we have observed in the Daniell cell, right? Now what happens is, when you consider this particular Daniell cell, it has an electromotive force, that is EMF of that cell was found to be 1.1 volts. Okay, 1.1 volts. That is, if you take exactly 1 molar solution of zinc sulphate and 1 molar solution of copper sulphate solution and dip metal electrodes of zinc and copper in that particular solution, the amount of current formed will be in terms of E is equal to 1.1 volts. So this is called the potential of the Daniell cell or galvanic cell. So now let us consider a condition where we are applying an external potential energy. Okay, when applying external potential force on this particular electrodes in three cases. In first case, where we are applying external potential which is less than 1.1 volts. And in the second condition, we are applying exact amount of 1.1 volts of electrode potential. And in the other case, we will be applying more than 1.1 volts of electrode potential. So now, if we just consider the same reaction, I'm just connecting these two with an external potential. So the external potential has a resistance rheostat, and it is connected to a battery. Okay. So positive end of the battery is connected to the positive end of the circuit, and the negative end is connected to the rheostat. Okay. So this is what we are observing over here. So now we come across three conditions. Okay. So now once you consider this reaction or consider this construction, we come across three conditions. The first condition being, if this is called as EEX, if this is called EEX, and the energy here is E, that is 1.1 volts. Electrode potential generated by copper and zinc electrode is 1.1 volts, and the external potential applied is considered as EEX. So we come across three conditions. In the first case, if EEX greater than taken as less than 1.1 volts, that is, if the external potential applied is less than 1.1 volt. So let us say I'm applying an external force here. So I'm connecting this negative end on the lower end of this side. So what happens is, there will be low current passed. So low potential passed means that if you observe carefully, the positive end is connected to the positive end. So that means if you connect this particular electron with a negative charge, it starts to oppose the flow of electron. Okay, it starts to oppose the flow of electron. Therefore, with the increasing value of external potential, there will be decrease in the internal potential generated. So if external potential is less than 1.1 volts, what happens is electrons will be opposed less, therefore they will be moving towards the positive end of the copper electrode. Okay, if we consider for this particular condition where the external applied potential is less, therefore the electrons will be moving in the same direction towards the positive electrode. So which can be denoted as showing this galvanometer's arrow mark in this direction. So galvanometer directs in the particular direction where the electrons are flowing. Okay, so galvanometer arrow mark will be bent towards the right hand side because electrons are moving from negative end to the positive end in the first condition. Okay, so what happens in that particular condition is, when external potential is less than 1.1 volts, zinc gets deposited to Zn2 plus and 2 electrons. That is a normal galvanometric cell, and Cu2 plus gains those 2 electrons to form Cu. Simple reaction. Zinc deposited at the solution and copper gets deposited on the electrode. That is, zinc gets dissolved inside the solution, copper in the solution gets deposited on the copper electrode. Simple process, just similar to the Daniell cell. Now if you consider for the second reaction, if external potential E of Ex is equal to 1.1 volts, if the amount of external potential applied is equal to the potential generated inside the box, what happens is there will be no flow of electrons to be formed. So the galvanometer will be perpendicular. Okay, so the galvanometer will be staying straight. That means there is no flow of electrons to either right or on the left. So at this particular condition, no reaction takes place. No reaction takes place. Okay, that means both these two are said to be in equilibrium. So instead of saying no reaction, we can say that they are in equilibrium. They are in equilibrium. Okay, so no reaction takes, they are said to be in equilibrium. Now if you consider for the third condition, now what happens if you increase the external potential to more than 1.1 volts? If you increase the external potential to greater than 1.1 volts, what happens is E of Ex greater than 1.1 volt, the electrons start to oppose, electrons get opposed by the external potential. Therefore what they do is electrons start to move from positive end to the negative end. So therefore what happens in this condition is when you apply external potential greater than that of the potential generated in the Daniell cell, the electrons will be flowing in the reverse order. That means, so here what happens is Cu will be losing electrons to form Cu2 plus with 2 electrons, and zinc will be gaining those 2 electrons. Zn2 plus will be gaining those 2 electrons to form Zn. That means copper gets dissolved in the solution and zinc gets deposited on the electrode. So this particular reaction is completely non-spontaneous. So the spontaneous reaction is this one, where zinc loses electrons, copper gains those electrons. This is a spontaneous reaction. Now in this case it is a non-spontaneous reaction. Okay, so now we have constructed an electrolytic cell. Only if you are applying an external potential greater than that of the potential of the cell. That is, if you apply an external electrode potential greater than that of the potential generated by the cell, then the cell acts as an electrolytic cell. So what do you mean by electrolytic cell? An electrolytic cell is a device which is used to apply electric current on a chemical process in order to form a non-spontaneous chemical reaction. If you apply certain amount of electrode potential on a chemical reaction and that particular chemical reaction starts to be a non-spontaneous chemical reaction, then that particular electrode potential cell applied is called the electrolytic cell. So if in a cell, let us say a Daniell cell, if in a Daniell cell, if you apply electrode potential greater than 1.1, if you apply an external electrode potential greater than 1.1 volts, then the particular Daniell cell acts as electrolytic cell, where the reaction carries out to forming a non-spontaneous process. Okay, non-spontaneous means it requires external help in order to carry out the particular process. Here, in order to carry out this particular reaction of copper being liberated to Cu2 plus and zinc get deposited as zinc, we require external help. That external help is nothing but the external potential applied, which is greater than that of the potential of the Daniell cell. Okay, so this is all about the introduction of electrochemistry. In the next topic, we'll be discussing about galvanic cell, their half cell reactions and half cell electrode potentials. I hope you have understood these initial basic concepts. If you have understood these, please do subscribe to my channel and share this video among your friends. Thank you for watching.